Hello everyone, welcome to free online course on Android. In this tutorial we're gonna learn how to install Android Studio and what are the various settings required for installing Android Studio and what are the requirements for the Android Studio. Now in the previous tutorial we saw about the introduction to Android, history to Android and different versions of Android and explained you about it. I also told you that I'll be loading a PPT on that. I just loaded it, so I hope you have checked it and gone through with it. Now a lot of students had queries regarding it and they have mailed me, so I will just mailed in the sense they have put it in the questions and answers forum, and I've got a mail regarding it, so I'll be talking about those questions and giving a review about it at the end of this video. And also I'll about the more information I will mail it back to that particular student or an employee who has reverted with that particular question and answers forum. Now uh, continuing forward with this tutorial, what we're gonna do today here is that we're gonna install Android Studio. Now to install Android Studio we need to always remember that before installing Android Studio you need to have JDK, that is Java Development Kit, because most of the program, almost most of the program you're running in Java, so you need to have a Java enabled in that. So I think most of the programmers know it, and for a newbie you need to know that you need a JDK, an Android SDK for that, and an Android IDE. Now Android SDK comes along with whenever you download Android Studio, it comes along with it. Now to do that, first I will if you want to download JDK, so you just need to say JDK download for Windows or Mac or whatever you want. So you do that, it will directly take you to this. Now click on the first one, Java SE downloads. You'll get this link. Now I have given a different tabs, as I told you that it will take some time to internet to load it, so I've already kept it ready for you with the different tabs. Now come to this site with the latest version, Java SE 14. Now I have got 11. Now if you check mine in the drive, so in basically when once you install, it will be in C drive under program files. So you just give Java. If you don't find, you can just give here Java, so automatically it will give you where is your particular file. Now in Java I've got that version of JDK 11.0.1 which I had earlier installed. After that, a lot of versions have come up, so we have got Java SE Oracle JDK download. Now you need to download that. Okay, once you download, after downloading you can install. So there are a lot of versions for it in JDK. So once you do that, you will automatically be asked to install it. So kindly install it in a C drive, because we're gonna install also our Android Studio in a C drive. So let all the installers or exe files, that will be in C drive, so it will be easily accessible to you. Now you can also install in different drives, but you need to give the path. Now always remember, whenever you want to open any file, you need to give that particular path for that file. Now if you want to go from here to any city, you need to know the path to go to city. You need to catch the right bus. Same way everything works in the computer as it is. Now once you do that, once you install JDK, so which will be there in your particular system, you don't have to do anything with it. It will get installed and you get bin files and config readme files and all. You don't have to do anything. It's just for the Android Studio. This basically is for the newbies, the new people who are installing, coming new for the Android Studio to create apps and all. You need to have a JDK file. Okay, once you do that, once it gets installed, it'll once you say you want to download, when you click on this, it will directly take you to this link. Okay, and it will give you the packages. Now if you want, as I told you, if you want on particular system, or if you want to work on that particular system. Now if you want to talk about Linux, Mac installer, you have got different versions of it. Now for Windows, Linux, Debian, if you got RPM, or you want a Windows 64 installer, you want to compress zip file, so you got that. Once you can download that and carry forward with it. Okay, once I do that, now what I'm gonna do here is that once the download is done, so it will directly take you the setup file, as I told you, like whatever you have downloaded will be in your downloads, and you can install that. So once you install, which I've already installed, so you can carry forward with installing. Now after you do that, now coming to Android Studio, now you can directly type here as Android Studio download. Now when you say Android Studio download, it will directly take you to this particular page. Now you need to click on the first option, download Android Studio. Now when you say download Android Studio, it will take you to a page where you can download the Android Studio. Now here you can see I had already opened up, so now the internet is good, so it's not a problem. Now you got Android Studio out here. Now it says Android Studio provides the fastest tools for building apps on every type of Android devices. So the latest version has come up with 3.6.3 for Windows 64-bit. Now there are a lot of things which are there in this Android Studio. In the new one, you got a visual layout editor feature, you got APK analyzer, you got fast emulator, so on. There are a lot of things where you can see once you come to this particular page. Now most of the students asked me, can we have install it in the new people who want to install Android Studio said that can we install it in the Mac systems or Linux system? Yes, you can. You got an options here. It tells you what kind of platform you want to install. You want a 32-bit if your system is a 32-bit system. Now if you want to check how to check with your 32-bit system, then all you need to go to your my computer or this PC and say properties. You can find it out what kind of system is yours and how much particular install RAM you got. So I've got a 8 GB RAM with Core i5, and the system type is a 62-bit operating system, which is basically x64. That's what we see. Okay, now based on that, you can start with your installation process. Now once you do that, you can come here and you say you downloaded. Okay, now I have downloaded a 64-bit. As I told you, mine is a 62-bit installer. Now you can do that. Once you do that, you need to go to downloads and you have to click on this particular setup file. Now as I've already installed, I said I've got two types of Android Studio. One is 3.0, the previous one, and the new version looks like this. You got basically this one. Now if you want to check out with the new particular thing what we have got, you can have the overview look of it once I start using it. Now it looks particularly like this kind of symbol, a very different light green color compared to the previous one. Now once you do that, I have already, as I told, I have already installed. So what I've done is that I'm gonna link you to PDF. Once it is done, once the video is done, I'll link you to PDF so you can go through the requirements. So you have got minimum you need a 3 GB RAM for that, and so that it could be really fast, because otherwise your system will be slow if you have got 2 GB RAM or something like that. Okay, so even for the Mac requirements also I given. Now once you start running the setup file, so you can install it in a 64-bit Windows 10 or any 64-bit or a 32-bit. So 32-bit the process will be same. Now only difference is that one is a 64-bit processor, another one is a 32-bit processor. Now you get a welcome screen like this, welcome Android Studio setup. So you need to click on next. So there are various steps which are there here, which have basically explained how it goes and all. Now yes, when you come here, it will say choose the component, so it will be unchecked. So you need to check the Android virtual device. Now why do I need an Android virtual device? Now you got a mobile phone with you. Now you got lots of apps in that, correct? Now you want, whenever we are creating an app in the later stage, yes, I can connect my particular ID, that is particular studio, this studio, to my mobile device and check to how it will run in my mobile. But I don't want to do it now. Think I've got my phone is off and I can't do anything about it. I need to keep it for charge. Then I need something, a virtual device which I cannot touch and feel. Basically I need a device which I can also locate in my system. Now that is called an Android virtual device, where it just looks like a phone. Okay, just the layout will be just look like a phone. It's called an emulator, which will later will be talking about it. Now as we go forward, when you give next option, so it will ask you now where do you want to install it. Now all I suggest is that most of the people, we install it in a C drive. Okay, basically here, okay, which has got a space. Yes, you can install it in D drive, E drive, or whatever drives you have got. Now wherever my JDK file is there, I need to install it there, JDK SDK files, because yes, there is something called Android SDK which will be there in compiled with Android Studio. You don't have to actually download it separately, so that's also is required. Now it comes along with that, so later when you install it, it'll ask whether you want to install the SDK component, so you need to give yes. You have to check mark everything, so whenever you're going to install anything, kindly don't uncheck anything, check everything, whether if it says do you want to install, say yes, because sometimes what will happen, you won't be having a Visual Studio C++, particularly to run a platform in some of the IDEs, so you need to check mark there, it will start downloading, and you need to have a kind of internet connection, good internet connection. All right, now once you do that, once you install it, once you give the path, it will directly, when you're doing it, it will directly show you this path. Now if you want to change it, then you can change it, otherwise keep it just like that, because this is a default path it will give. Okay, then it will give you something like a choose a start menu folder, so you can just say it will give you Android Studio, so you don't need to create any shortcuts. You just say install, don't go to change anything, say install. It will install certain packages, so whatever packages are there, name of the files have been installed, you can see it when it keeps on going here, because there are lots of API files, image files which has to be installed to run a particular app. Now once the installation complete, it will give you a next symbol, so give it a next button, keep clicking it, and you will say completing Android Studio, and start Android Studio check mark, so finish it. Once you finish it, the Android Studio will pop up and it will ask like this. Now this is very important, you need to understand this. Now why this pop-up window comes is that now I have got a previous version, right? So when I was installing the new version 3.6.3, the previous 3.1 or 3.0 version was there were lots of apps which I had developed, there were files in that, so it will ask me whether I want to take it from the previous version or something like that. Now I didn't choose that, because as I wanted a two different studio, because it's a new studio, I just wanted you to be flexible in that, because if I work on previous one, the older version, and you are installed the newer version, and you have got a lot of options, so I don't want you to again come back. Yeah, you are always welcome to ask me questions on it, I can solve it any point of time, but I just want you to work hand to hand. So yeah, so I thought of like installing the newer version, so just give a do not import settings, say okay. All right, now once you do that, your setup looks like this, Android Studio. Now it looks different, this is the previous version of it, it looks different, and it will start download. Now when it comes here, this part, now that part I'm gonna explain it to you now. I'll yes, now that part I'm gonna explain it to you now. Now always remember what are the things we require. We require a Android JDK, sorry, we need a JDK, okay, Java Development Kit. We need Android Studio, which comes along with the SDK, you don't have to install it again. All these links you can check it out here, or you can give it, I will provide you in the Word document, or kind of upload Word I will put, where you have got a lot of links to it. Okay, after that, now what you're gonna do here is that now as I told you, once you install that, now I showed you a screen, right? I showed you a screen something like this, so you need to launch it. So start Android Studio. When you start Android Studio, now in a newer version, once you start the Android Studio, if you don't start the Android Studio, if you uncheck it, if you start the Android Studio, I will pin this new Android Studio with my taskbar, because once I installed it, I just run it once, then I pinned it. Now first of all, it will not directly get pinned. If you just say start Android Studio, say finish, it will launch to the new Android Studio. Now if you uncheck this, then what you can do is that you need to open where you have installed the file. Now basically the file will be installed in program files, so you find something called Android Studio. Now I've got two versions, as I told you, the previous and the new. I gave the new one as Android Studio 1. Now in this Android Studio, if you need to go to a bin file. In bin file, at the end you can see here Android Studio here, correct? Now what I did is that I right clicked it and I said pin it to my taskbar. Okay, pin it to the start or something like that. Okay, or you can pin it to the taskbar, or if you can give say Android Studio. If you just type here in Android Studio, so you can see here, you can just right click it and you can just pin it from taskbar. So unpin it because we already pinned it. Now you can do that if you're unchecked there, and you can run it here, or if you're checking it and say start Android Studio, so it will automatically start. Now as if you have not checked it, then you need to come here to this location, okay, bin file, and just double click it. Okay, once you do that, your new Android Studio, the new version of it, which I already told you, that is the new version of it, 3.6.3, look like this. It takes time to load, so you can see at the starting it takes time to load, so kindly be patient, and it will find all the available SDK components as I told you is there or not. Then you saw in the previous screenshot, as I told you, it will take you here, not this one, this is the previous one. So it will take you here, you can say finding available SDK component, whether it's there or not. If it's not there, I told you, it will download and install it, then it will take you to this screen here. Okay, now that is where we are here currently. Now if you can read it, you need to read it. This setup wizard will validate your current Android SDK. Okay, so you have got the option to download SDK or not. If you give cancel, then what happens is that it will take you back. Now I don't want to do that. Now okay, fine, I'll just show you up how it is. Now that's not a problem, as I already pinned it. If I say cancel, it will say you have chosen to skip the setup wizard. Now setup wizard is very important. If I say do not run, it will not show me that, so I say rerun. When I say rerun, it will show like this, but I don't want to do that. Now where I am when I open it, now this is how I launch this particular Android Studio. So it will be like this. I just wanted to show you by mistake, if you cancel, what will happen. So you just need to give rerun the wizard. Okay, setup wizard, basically this is the one which pops out. Okay, now instead of cancel, I give next. When I give next, it will ask what kind of setup you want to do, standard or custom. I don't want to do a custom, because that will help you to install whether which components you want to install or don't want to install. Basically we go for the next, the standard one, default option. So when you give next, what you want, a lighter version or a Dracula version. Dracula version is the dark theme. Okay, you can select that. Your particular UI theme, user interface theme looks like this. So you can be flexible if you want to, look it more good when you're developing. You want to look, in a better way, so you can choose that. So I'll choose the default one, I'll choose the next, then I give next. So it will, you want to review or change your installation, so you can see that the emulator components to download are 235 MB. So these are the components which are available now, platforms which are available. So setup, so SDK, as I told you, it's already installed inside the Android. So Android Studio, I've got the JDK file locations. As I told you, wherever your studio is there, it should have a JDK location up to it once you install that. So you give finish, so it will start downloading. Okay, so there are a lot of things which gets to download. Now once you finish this up, what happens is that you can click on show details. Now when you click on show details, it will tell what are the installed installations are happening. So you can see a lot of installations are taking place. As previously we saw that, what are the files to be installed. So there was 230 MB. So it will take some time to get installed. Once this file is done, so it will come back to this, what are the things are there. Once I do that, now let this get completed, it takes a little bit of time. So once you finish that, it will directly tell you your Android SDK is updated. So you're gonna click with finish. So kindly don't cancel any point of time, then it will give you an error message saying that your particular Android SDK is missing, and there will be a lot of complications. So don't try to do that. Now after clicking on to finish, it will take you to the screen. It will basically take you to the screen on Android Studio. Start a new Android, or you want to import a project. Now earlier, if you got a project, now as I told you, I've got two versions of it, 3.0 and the new version of it. So if you want to import, you can do that. Now if you want to configure from the SDK, if any plugins or you want to do that, you can do that. So you got a Android virtual device, as I told you, you got that also. We're gonna talk about it later. Now once you do that, you can just click on start a new Android project. So it will look like this. It will ask you to select a project template. Okay, now no activity, then you can just choose that no activity. If you want to choose a basic activity, it will be having a mark, plus symbol. If you want an empty activity, now basically we choose an empty activity. Okay, now once there are a lot of other options, fragments you want, which you're going to talk about it later. So I'm going to choose a empty activity, and I say create a empty activity, which will be given there, and I say next. Now this is the name of your file. Okay, now basically what this particular name says is that, now what basic my name is that, now the name I need to give for that particular project. So when I keep my cursor up here, it says that name that will be shown in the Android launcher. So whenever you launch a particular application while creating this app, that name will be shown. Now remember, now just see the changes what I make. Now I'm gonna give my name here, Suman. Now if you see here, you get an message saying that our application name for the most apps begins with an uppercase. So you need to remember, you need to give the name in an uppercase, so Suman. So once you do that, you won't find any changes, but the time I give it as Suman, so you see this particular application name. So I will keep it the same. Like you can give different names, that's not at all a problem. So I'll just keep it as my application. Now this is the package name, so whatever packages are there to be inbuilt, just like we have got in C and C++, the packages right there, the library function, so everything will be there. Now that will be inside this, so kindly don't go to make any changes out here. And save location is basically by default, it will take you here. You want to save your program somewhere else, you can do that. You want to change it to some other part in a desktop or something like that, but preferably we don't go to do that. Now as I told you, I have to got two different things, so it will a lot of applications programs are there, so you can rename it as my application, whatever it is, my application, or the name, like you can give it as Suman. Now also that's not a problem. So if I give Suman, so you can give that the name of that particular project you want to save, save location. Okay, where exactly you want to save it. As I given, mine was main application 1 2 3 4 5, which was there previously, so I changed it to Suman. So if I don't give that, by default it will say my application for you. It will, because I have got the previous version, lot of it, so I have given a lot of names for that. I kept it as default, so that this was my sixth particular project. So I just changed to Suman. You can do it like that. So the languages, now if you see here in the new version, it give you as I told you, this programming language is used used for this particular thing for the code generation. So you have got, as I told you, we can learn about Kotlin also. I also told you in later versions we're gonna learn about Kotlin once my this particular course is over. Now I need to choose Java. Okay, so we are not working on Kotlin. Okay, so we're gonna work on Java, so you need to select Java for that. And the next part is the minimum SDK, how much I need. So the minimum SDK 16. Okay, alright, so you can just select the higher version also. 10 that I told you, remember we have got different versions of it. Okay, so currently we are in Android 10, which is called Q, which they removed the desert name. This is the desert name, and they came up with Android 10. Okay, now you can choose the minimum here, because the app will run approximately 99.8% of your devices, because every Android Studios, the application programming interface, that the layers which are there, they run in the kind of formats like API. Now low versions, certain versions of Android mobiles, you've got Jelly Bean, KitKat OS operating system. Now here, when I say Jelly Bean, when I take the minimum SDK, it will run in 99.8% of devices. Now if you see here, if I choose this, if you say that I want to run Oreo, if your phone is updated to Oreo, then it will run on that. So I think 53.5% of the devices your app will run approximately. Now if you choose pi, if you can see 39.5, but if you choose 10, which is, you know, most of very less phones have got that kind of a this API level, so it's 8.2. So we basically go with the lowest so that your app runs in, on all kinds of mobile phones. So if you take ice cream sandwich, it will be 100%, so we'll go with the Jelly Bean 99.8. Now once I do that, click on finish. Now when you click on finish, yes, it takes some time, because when you run your particular project for the first time, it takes some time, and don't worry, the screen just disappears and comes in because it has to load. Now if you see here, the project is starting to load. It will reconsider all the files which have been installed, that is the SDK files and all. Okay. Once it loads, it shows you like this. If you see what's new, so you can read that what are the design tools and what are the things which are going. Now remember, it takes some time. As I told you, can see the indexing part is also going on, so you can see the project is getting loaded. Now it will just check all the IDE plugin updates and all, if there are any updates available, all these things. Now if you see this particular window, all the things are going on. Okay, all right. Now I think today we're gonna speak about this. So once the program is loaded, it looks like this. Now as I told you, the Android is built in, we have used a language called Java, so most of the applications are run in this. We are not using Kotlin. So I will tell you about what do you mean by activity main XML, and what do you mean by main activity.java, then why do we need it, or what do you mean by all these things out here on the left hand side of the panel. Now you have got src, Java, you have got res. So I'll be talking more about it in my next tutorials, because I don't want to drag the tutorials for more than half an hour. It's already crossed half an hour, I guess. So you can see there are plugin updates, you can do that. So in my next tutorials, I'll be explaining it to you. And for the time constraints, I had told you that I'll be answering question and answers. Now there were two questions. Now basically there were two questions. Now the first question was, I wanted to ask how you manage the pace of the course. Is it a one day at a time, or the material is available for the entire course at the beginning itself? No, I'm not giving the entire course material, because as I told you, it's an online course. I need to, you know, do a video, upload it, tell you what are the things, because once I put everything in a day, it will people will just skip it, you know, they'll not watch. Now this will make you more easy. At a day you can work on it, you can see the video, run side by side. Now you don't have to worry for the pace of the course. There are 20 days. After that I'll make sure you'll be thorough with it. Now it's just a beginning, so I'll be not loading more than it. So after that, as it goes, I'll be little bit faster, and you can see a lot of things can be implemented. Okay. Now after that I'll be putting more videos. Once the course is over also, I'll be loading videos for you. Okay, sometimes I'll be loading one or two or three videos, okay, about it. Okay, so you don't have to worry about the pace of the course. Sorry. And the next question was, in what form do companies producing Android phones get their source code from Google, or is there any business involved in this process? Now this is a huge question, a very very interesting question which was asked. I just want to tell you, whoever has framed this particular question, I will mail you the particular contents about it, because it takes a lot of time. It takes around 15 to 20 minutes to explain about it. In short, I just want to tell you is that there are different ways, because there are a lot of links which have got a source code. They get a source code, that's a Git repository where they do, and you install a repo for it. Okay, yeah. Is there any business involved in this process, even though it's open source? Yes. Now when you are having an open source, as Google provides an open source, what happens is that you can create your own applications. Now we are talking about applications here, and the questions you are also combined with like how the companies produce Android phones, which is also a part of our hardware and software. So I'm expertise in creating applications. So there's something called developer framework also, which Android framework also, which explain you more about the developing developer options and developer previews. So I think in the next tutorial I'll explain it little more about it, because as time constraints, I don't want to explain more on this particular part. So yeah, I'll surely send you, as this video is done and uploaded today, I'm gonna send you this particular material, and after that I'll be explaining it to you, because today you asked this, a lot of people might be interested about this particular question, why it is asked and what is the things involved in it. Okay, now yes, as you see, activity main XML takes a lot of time, because it's for the first time even I am loading it, because it's a new version. So previous version it's easily done. So main activity Java also I'll explain, and all the rest of the things I'll be explaining. All right, so today's video is a little bit lengthy, guys, kindly bear with me. And there was one more query that in my background there are a lot of noises. Yes, I don't own a own studio, so that I can sit and download this, because I have tried to maximum reduce the noise, and sorry for the inconvenience it disturbs you. So I'll make sure that the noise reduction will be there. Fine, guys, that's all for today. Thank you so much for being into this tutorial and understanding the concept of it. If you got any queries, just go on to question and answer